Hey Slingers, it's another week of the Wordslinger podcast, and today I'm talking to Megan Haskell and Greta Boris about their new book, Publish, Take Charge of Your Author Career. Taking charge of your author career, that's what we're all about, the Wordslinger podcast. So stick around for this great interview. This episode of the Wordslinger podcast is brought to you by Draft to Digital. Convert your manuscript, distribute it online, and get support the whole way at drafttodigital.com.
It's the Wordslinger podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Hey, I am Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger. Thanks so much for being here another week. Now, if you listened in last week, you know that as of right now, I am at NINC. In fact, and if you don't know what that is, if you didn't listen ahead, NINC is Novelists Inc. It is a huge conference. It's happening in near Tampa, Florida, at St. Pete's Beach, Florida. I'm actually going to be presenting on behalf of Draft to Digital, doing a presentation at 11 a.m. Eastern Time at I don't remember the room exactly, but it's at it's at NINC. And if you happen to be there and you're listening to this, what are you doing? Come on over. But if you are kind of in the area, it may not be too late. You might be able to drop in and enjoy some fun conversations with people who are attending NINC. You just meet them in the lobby. Meet them around the resort. That can be free, or you may have to pay for parking. I'm not sure. Excuse me, I'm having a hiccup moment. Sorry about that. Isn't that great for podcasts? Sort of radio in general. Okay, so I'm at NINC. I'm pre-recording this, of course. You may have heard me talk last week about whether or not I wanted to continue with the show. Just sort of asking for advice, asking for feedback. Thank you to those who did send me some feedback, some kind words. It is heartening when you create something and you sort of create in a vacuum. Now this applies to the author life as well, because I've seen a lot of people complain over the years about all the time and work and stress and hassle of being an author, because you are sort of working in a void for a while. And you get that work out there and you don't see any immediate returns, and you may not see returns for years. And so that can be very disheartening, and it can lead you to want to give up. And I encourage you not to give up if this is something you truly want in your life. They do say, I've said it too, if you're willing to do something for free, then it means you love it. And I've heard it phrased in another way that seems more negative to me, which is if you're not willing to do it for free, then you're not, you shouldn't be doing it. I don't necessarily agree with that phrasing, although I have myself used that from time to time. So I much prefer saying that if you the meaning of a passion to do something, even if you do it for free, is that you love it. That it is a passion, that it is something that's in your heart that you have to create. I like that. So that's what the Wordslinger podcast has been for me for a while. What I'm questioning these days is, should I? There has to come a point where I would wrap it up. But I don't think that's right now. I'm starting to think that that's not right now. So fickle. Anyway, of course I love you guys and I enjoy doing the work, so that makes it much easier. And I get other returns on this. Not everything has to be about finances, of course, and that was never actually the thing that made me start to question this. The investment of time, I was worried. I have worried that it might be distracting me from the writing, but I've actually come to a conclusion about creative work. I think that we we're sort of built to do a variety of things, and one creative endeavor can actually help you improve upon another creative endeavor. The example that came to mind over the weekend, because I just recorded the episode from last week, 3 days ago my time. I'm recording this one in advance so that I can get it programmed ready to go for Friday, the Friday that I'm going to be out of town. I had this experience when I was in the marketing agency world, advertising world. I worked for an agency, to go unnamed, lest they be litigious. But I worked for a local agency in the Houston area, a big agency, the biggest in the Houston area, actually. And there was a weekend. You may have heard of like the 48-hour film festival, or film competition, or whatever. It's called numerous things, I think, depending on the region you live in. It's a contest for people to get together, amateurs, hopefully, but professionals as well. Anybody can participate. And you have a team, and they draw topics, and you get yours, and you go make a film. So, and you have 48 hours to do that. You have 48 hours to write, shoot, produce, edit, and finalize your film. So it can be a little, it can be kind of intense. I'm sorry, I'm clearing my throat in your ear. It can be a little intense, and it does wear you out. It can be exhausting. So I worked for this agency, and they decided after one of these weekends to make a blanket rule that no one is allowed to participate in 48-hour film, because, as they put it, they pay for our creative energies, and if we're participating in something else that's creative outside of work, then we're stealing from them. So it wasn't even about being tired when you came into work, because honestly, they've got no control over whether or not you're tired, whether or not you had to sit up with your baby all night, whether or not you had to, drive in from out of town, or, something that would have made you exhausted either way. They've got no control over what you do with your free time necessarily. So they approach this as, we're paying you, we own your creativity, and if you are using that creativity elsewhere, then you are stealing from the company. So I started thinking about that. I was talking to my wife about that this weekend. We got into this whole very heated conversation, because that's what Kara and I do. We got into this whole heated conversation about, it's ridiculous to say that, creativity used in one area of your life is going to, subtract from the other area of your life. It's not a zero-sum game. Creativity gets fed by other creativity, actually. So that's what we've determined. That's what I've determined. That's what Kara has determined. The more creative endeavors you embark upon, yes, there is a cost in time and energy. Sometimes you can be played out, and sometimes you get burned out. I think I get burned out from time to time. So what we need to do is find a balance, right? I need to find a balance for, producing the show. Maybe I should put the show on hiatus every now and then, which is basically what I did over the past month because of technical issues or whatever. But it gave me a chance to recharge, to come back to it. And once I did it, I actually spent all that time dreading getting back to it. I'll be honest with you. I had this feeling of dread because I didn't want to step right back into what I was doing before, because I was exhausted by it. And then suddenly I did the show, and I did things a little different, and boom, I'm in. I'm energized about it again. So there you go. So I think that your creative endeavors do feed the rest of your creative life, and if you can shift your energy to something else for a little while, it can recharge the creative work that you're doing over here where you're burned out. I've right now, some of my books are on hold. I still try to write every day, but I'm in a bit of a slump when it comes to being enthusiastic about the writing. So that happens to people. Maybe that happens to you, and you've been wondering if you're alone. You're not alone. I'm 40 plus books in on this career, and doing pretty well with it. and I get burned out too. I've talked to other authors. I've talked to some pretty hyper successful authors who experience the same thing. So I want this to be a word of encouragement to you, because you hear a lot of advice. You get a lot of there are a lot of things that happen in your life, in your world, that can interrupt your plans. And I don't want anybody walking away thinking I'm a failure because I'm not super enthusiastic about writing and publishing right now, or I'm a failure because I just don't have the energy to face the page right now. We talk about coming back to the writing every day. I do think writing is a daily skill you should practice. But I also think that just like anything else, just like becoming a master at playing guitar or, playing tennis or rock climbing, you got to have your downtime too. You got to have that rest. You got to let the field lie fallow for a little bit so that you can come back and replant and grow. You're not walking away if you're taking a break. You're just taking a break. Anyway, that's me. I'm going to sip this cup of coffee now. You want coffee now? Maybe. You may be a teetotaler. So we're 10 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and move us into this interview. I talked with Megan and Greta quite a while back now, so I owe them an apology for delays. I owe everybody. I got a whole list of interviews that got pushed back by a month, so apologies all around. But enough time went by that they actually changed the name of their book. Now you're going to hear us talking about. Let me see if I can find. I want to make sure I get all this right. The former title of the book was "Aspiring to Author: A Guide to Your Publishing Career," but they have, I believe, wisely changed the title of the book to "Publish: Take Charge of Your Author Career." And taking charge of your author career, that's what it's all about. So I think you're going to enjoy this interview. They changed that title, and that book went on sale as of September 4th, so that we may be talking about it upcoming, but it is currently on sale. You'll be able to find links in the show notes of this episode. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy this interview with Megan and Greta, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm sure I have something pithy to say. So see you there. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around through the intro. And now this week I'm talking to two people. You get two for the price of one. And I always love doing these kind of interviews. Now this is the first time I've done two people at once on Zoom. So we're gonna see how this works out. I've done it on Skype and it was problematic. So since I've switched programs, we'll see how it works out. But I'm talking to Megan Haskell and Greta Boris. Now they're the authors of. Now did I pronounce the names right? Let me make sure of that first off.
You got it. Yep.
Good. All right. I took a stab. I didn't verify beforehand. All right. They're the authors of Aspiring to Author: A Guide to Your Publishing Career. They're also the directors of OC Writers, and we're going to talk about all of that, plus their writing careers. So first of all, welcome to both of you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us. Like I said when we were chatting earlier, it's an honor. I've been listening to you for a couple of years.
Well, I appreciate that. You're the one. You're the one who listens. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell me first, the first question I have for you, actually, I want to know what the OC Writers, I want to know what that is.
You want me to start, Megan?
Yeah, why don't you start, since you were in on the early days.
Okay. OC Writers actually grew out of NaNoWriMo. I can't remember what year, maybe a number of years ago, and another author began it, and it started just as a write-in in a coffee shop, and she grew the online community to about a couple of hundred people, and then just was ready to move on and asked me if I wanted to take over. So I did, and only when I got Megan to join me. And we turned it into more of a business, and now we're about 1,000 strong on Facebook and growing our community. And we have a blog where many authors and writers contribute monthly, and it's a blog on writing for writers. But I think what makes us a little unique is that we also have an in-person presence. So we're not only online. We do writing workshops through the Orange County Public Library, and we do write-ins around the county. And it's a really fun group of people and very supportive.
Yeah. So OC stands for Orange County then.
Yes.
Which I
Yeah.
figured. I
Yeah.
didn't want to assume. And it was missing the D, so I knew it wasn't obsessive compulsive disorder. It could have been
Well, there's some of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OC writers. I'll start my own OC writers on my end. It'll be something totally different.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Now that's a writers group. And how long has it been going? How long did you say?
Do you know, Megan?
I think it was Nano in 2012, and then I actually joined in 2015, I think, or 2016. No, it has to have been 2015. Yeah, so we and that was kind of the cool thing. So when I joined, it was mostly in person, and I went to a couple of writers roundtable events and other things that we've done. And since we've actually really tried to expand the online presence so that we're not just OC anymore.
Yeah.
So people sometimes get confused about that, but we're not just Orange County anymore. Now we have the virtual presence as well. So, we're really working hard to build out the website and trying to become a hub of resources and information for writers at all stages of their career.
Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the just off the cuff perks that you get for being a member of OC Writers?
Well, you get our amazing newsletter.
There you go.
And we often have discounts for conferences. So Writers Digest, when they ran their conference in LA, they contacted us, and any of our people got $25 off and
Oh yeah.
that kind of thing. And then we have we have free workshops through the library pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get to hang out with me and Megan, which is
Right. Which
awesome.
I'm on the website now. I'm signing up now just for that.
Well, there you go. Awesome.
Yay. We got Kevin Tomlinson. Now we're bombarded with people.
Now we're going no place fast. So, well, that's cool. No, I mean, I talk to a lot of people who have founded writers groups and who really endorse them. I've never been big on joining writers groups for whatever reason. I guess because I have a community of writers. Maybe I have one. It's just not officially named or anything. So, why would anybody choose OC Writers over, say, another group?
Well, I don't know that I hate to compare us to other groups. I think every group has its own purpose and its own set of goals. So for us, for OC Writers, I mean, it's definitely in part the combination of the live events for the local OC people. And then it's also just it's the community, it's the support network and the willingness to share information and talk about issues and really support and motivate each other. A few of the things we do in the Facebook group, we have Monday motivation, which is some people use as accountability, and then some people use just to kind of get their week started. And we have Good News Friday, where everybody can share, the great things that have happened in that week, or whatever their brilliant thing is that they've done. And sometimes that's, quite frankly, just surviving the week, and everybody kind of gives them a little hooray. So it's finding your tribe, I think, mostly. And then with the blog too, we have a lot of really great authors who are contributing monthly or occasionally to share their knowledge, whether that's craft or whether that's marketing, publishing, whatever their knowledge base is, they're sharing that information for free on the blog. And it's just kind of a really neat community, because no one has the attitude that their way is the only way or their way is the best way. Everybody's different and everybody's doing something different. And that's okay. And that's good, so.
Yeah. Well, that's and that's really what these things all come down to, is that you want to be a part of a community that's supportive, nurtures you, keeps you accountable. Those are good traits.
Yeah.
So now, presumably, with all this exposure to other authors and these programs, that stuff must be, I'm going to just assume, the stuff that sort of informed the book, right? And the book is, I'm going to read the title again. Authors, you guys are the authors of, I almost include that as the title. Authors of Aspiring to Author is the title.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got around to it. So is that drawing on your experience as the directors of OC Writers, or as well as personal experience?
Yeah, so it was born out of actually a course that Greta and I taught for the Southern California Writers Conference,
Mm-hmm.
which the course was actually born out of a weekly challenge that we did for OC Writers. But basically, Greta and I come from different backgrounds, really. She is a traditionally published author. I am indie published. And so we taught this course that was basically trying to help authors who were either had a finished manuscript, just starting out, wanting to figure out what the next steps were, or authors who were considering trying something new as far as their publishing journey. And we wanted to help them with an overview of, there's so much information out there and it's so overwhelming and everybody has great advice and it's all true, right? But it's too much for a lot of people when they're first starting out, especially. And so this is kind of a transitional guide to help authors figure it out. So we taught this course and we didn't have the book at the time. And we got done with the course and everybody goes, okay, where's the book? And so later we had the book.
Yeah. There's a lesson for you. You should always have the book ready to go. I learned that a long time ago when I would do speaking engagements. Like I would talk about like 30-Day Author, but I didn't have the book at the time. I think I probably missed the bulk of my sales by not having the book.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. The other thing I would say too is that we do have weekly write-ins, and a lot of the write-ins, they're in coffee shops, and we'll have a time, maybe an hour and a half, where we just write, and then we'll have a little discussion time. And often the people who come are at very early stages, they're not published. Mm-hmm. And after a while, you just start to hear the same questions over and over and over again, and you just figure, now we have Aspiring to Author on the shelf in the coffee shop that we work in, because now when the same question comes up over and over and we're really kind of getting sick of answering it, we can just point to the book and say, it's right there on the shelf, go buy it. So,
yours for only $9.99. Yeah, that's smart. The coffee shop are they carrying the book?
Yes, they're the best coffee shop ever. If you come to Orange County, we will take you there. The owner of the coffee shop is writing her memoir, and she's got bookshelves, and anybody in OC Writers can put their books up for sale, and they sell them. So it's really, really great. Shout out to Patch Coffee in Lake Forest, California.
Mm-hmm. Patch Coffee in Lake Forest, California, you said?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Shout out to them. They're great.
I'm taking that as an invitation. I'll be there so that you guys can take me to Patch Coffee.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm down with any coffee shop. You had me as soon as you said coffee shop. I was coming in anyway. Yeah. If you tell me they serve scotch there, I'll maybe be there over the weekend.
After hours, she will she'll serve anything you want. She's great.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So, all right. So this developed out of the course. What are some of the things that people can sort of expect to learn once they pick up the book?
Well, one of the things that we did that I think was a little unique, there's a lot of books out there that are about independent publishing and how to independently publish. There's a lot of books out there about traditional publishing and how to get an agent and query and all that. But there wasn't anything that really did this kind of compare and contrast that we saw. And Megan and I are very different personality types, which is why I wanted her and recruited her immediately. I'm a musician. I can count to 8 and that's about it. Megan is a spreadsheet queen. She's amazing. I mean, we're just very, very different. And so we work really well together. And we began to realize that's one reason I gravitate more toward traditional publishing and she toward indie. Megan never did, I'll let her tell her story, but she never did do the pitch everybody 1,000 times and get rejected and all that. She was listening to the likes of Joanna Penn and kind of decided the indie path was for her from day one. But we also realized that not everybody is cut out for either path. You know, that depending on your personality type and your skill set, you're definitely more suited maybe for one than another. So we created a very scientific publishing personality test that we invented. And so we start with the publishing personality test and we try to help people discover which path is really the best path for them or their particular project.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And and you're saying that there's a benefit here, not just for the indie author, but for also the aspiring traditionally published author.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when we were, and I won't hog the whole thing, but when we were in at the conference, you know, typically in a writer's conference, you get a lot of people walking in who think I need an agent and I need to pitch the big five and that's the way to go. And so that is definitely a path. But so this class, we kind of help them discover, is that really the best for you? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then when they walked out, we tried to give them the basics and a little bit of equipment for whatever path they chose to pursue.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So now what's interesting about this is that there's sort of by necessity a comparison between indie and traditional. And by the way, I mean, and I'm very much indie and I'm the voice of indie publishing and all that stuff. But like a lot of indie authors, you know, I would get into a traditional contract if the terms were right. And if I thought it was going to serve me and my readers. But you guys are in a unique position to sort of compare and contrast the two. Like, what are some of the differences, or really, what are some of the similarities? I'd like to start there. Like, what are things that people should keep in mind about both?
Well, I think for both, you have to be organized, right? You have to kind of know what your goals are and what your purpose is. So it's probably easier to contrast and kind of compare the personalities a little bit. But like for indie publishing, right? I like to say I'm a project manager for my own business, right?
Okay.
So I am finding all the pieces, all the service providers, doing all the legwork, all the research, writing contracts, etc., to make sure that I'm putting out the best product I possibly can. So obviously that takes a huge amount of organization. What sometimes gets overlooked is that the traditional path takes a lot of organization as well. Even though you might not be hiring a cover designer or a formatter or an editor, because you're going to get that theoretically anyway, or ideally from your future publisher, you still have to do research on agents. You still have to do research on the kinds of publishers that you might want to work with. Everybody automatically thinks big five, but there's also a ton of great small presses out there. And Greta can speak to that a little bit better than I can. But when you're going through this process, you still have to stay organized. You have to follow the instructions on the website. Exactly. That's one of the things we talk about all the time. Go to the website, look at their submission guidelines, and follow them exactly. Doesn't matter if you're talking to a cover designer or an agent, you follow it exactly. You act professionally. And you keep track of who you've queried and who you've reached out to and that kind of stuff as well. So I think the organization is probably one of the biggest similarities between the two paths. And then nowadays it's also author platform. Everybody has to have a platform.
Yeah.
And you have to work at it. Even if you're an introvert, you have to be on social media at least a little bit. You have to do, some of the even paying for your own ads maybe, or different ways to get your book out there, because the publishers can only do so much, and their budget is getting smaller and smaller.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's comparison. But it really comes down to what your goals are, you know, and who you are and what your skill sets are.
Yeah, and that's that to me. That's the nutshell of the whole business. Really, is comes down to your goals and your skills and what you're capable of. That idea of the platform is something that I think a lot of authors hear that and they don't always understand what it means. So I know what my platform is. What do you mean by platform?
Well, oh, do you want, go ahead, Megan. You
You
started
guys,
the platform discussion.
you guys can fight it out if you want. That makes for a much more interesting show.
Greta, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we did divide the book into, I swear I'll get to the answer to your question.
That's fine.
Unlike last time.
You go whatever route makes you comfortable. I'm good with it.
We did divide the book into 4 sections, and the first 2 sections really are more separated. Like, here's the indie path, here's the traditional path. By the time we get to sections 3 and 4, it's the same for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're indie or traditional, and that's where we start to talk about platform. And platform to me can be anything from sort of a marketing personality, your presence, who you are, getting that presence online uniform across. Like, for instance, my first book was called The Wine and Chocolate Workout, and it was written when I was very involved in the fitness industry and I was a personal trainer. I don't do that anymore. And that was one of my big platform changes when I started fiction. And, you know, I got a web designer and we separated the websites, and, you know, so that you're giving the same message across all your media sites.
Right.
And so I think that, and deciding what that is, and of course it will morph. You know, I can't wait until somebody calls me the queen of suspense, but they haven't yet. So that is not my tagline at this point. But
ironically, people call me the queen of suspense all the time, though.
I thought you were the voice of indie publishing.
Hey, a fella can be both.
Okay.
A fella can be more than one thing.
That's true.
We live in a modern time.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm going to duke it out with you for the queen.
All right.
All I'm saying.
All right. Deal. So yeah, that's great. Now, okay, you, Megan, I think you were going to interject something on platform as well, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot. Don't let me put you on the spot. I just
no. So author platform is, in broad strokes, it's your fan base and how you find them and how you present yourself.
Okay.
So kind of building off of what Greta was saying too, it's branding, and to use the business term, you gotta have your brand. So like for me, for my fiction, like I have this, it's a little design for the title, and I've used that now across everything so that I have very standardized, people know it's my book. They know it's my Twitter account because I've got these images that immediately reference my work. So that's part of it. And then it's finding your tribe, you know, it's having fingers sometimes in a lot of places, but concentrating on the areas where you can find people who love your work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a Facebook page, I've got a Twitter account, I've got all that stuff. And that's all part of it, but it's really coming down to getting those fans, getting those first reviewers, having them help to spread the word, and starting to build that base of people so that ultimately it's really hard with your first book. I'm going to throw that out there right now. It's practically impossible, I think, unless you've got something very niche and very cool, which I have seen done, but it's hard before you've published that first book to start building an audience. Unless you're on Wattpad, or, I mean, I guess there are other ways to do it, but if you're just
There's always magic. There's always sacrificing
right.
small animals under a full moon, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But as you continue to put out more books and grow, what you want to see is that your fans are sticking around. They're not leaving you behind or forgetting about you and your work because you're not online. They don't know where to look for you. So it's having the website, the Facebook page, other things where they can go and always know what's coming out next, and where you can stay in touch, and having a newsletter where you can go out and reach them, and having that continuously grow so that with each book, your launch is better and better. You know, you're gonna hopefully the goal, right, is that you launch a book and every book has a bigger launch than the last, that you've got more sales on that first day or that first week, you know, and the way to do that is just to stay in touch with people.
So what one of the questions I get a lot, especially from the crowd I call the will-be authors, is when they hear about building a mailing list, building a platform, the first question is like, where do I start with that? So I'm going to pass the buck on that question to you guys, because my answers I think work, but I want to hear what other people say, because this is a tough thing. I mean, it's a tough thing to start building a mailing list from scratch. So how do you attract those first few readers and fans?
Well, you know, it's hard because there's a lot of voices out there, and you have to compete. I think one of the things that's worked very well for me, and I think also has worked for Megan, is cross promotion. If you can find authors or join a cross promotion event that write in a similar genre to you, and they're willing to tell their people about you, I think these days that's working pretty well. I mean, if you can get an author who's farther ahead than you to endorse you in some way and share you in some way with their people, that's gold.
Yeah,
absolutely gold. And I think that's a big part of it. And then another big part of it, I think, is just consistency. The more I had a mailing list for my fitness book before I started fiction, and I thought, oh, I'm going to lose them all. But I sent them all a couple of emails, and I said, I'm not going to be writing about eating chocolate and drinking wine and doing burpees anymore. I'm moving on to fiction, guys. You can come with me or you can stay behind. And I had not that many unsubscribes. I invited them to unsubscribe, and I kept probably at least 3/4 of them. Yeah. So that was a nice start. And then I've been growing it with cross promotion. And then of course I have you got to have something free on your site to get them to tempt them to put their email address in.
Let me ask you then, well, how much of that do you figure those readers stuck around because they like you, rather than they were interested in the content you were about to start producing?
It's because they like me.
Yeah.
Really it is, because I can see I probably get more when I run a sale. I have the two lists separated so that I can test them. Right. But I think I get more sales from the people who come in through author cross promotions and things like that than I do my old list. But I have much better open rate from my old list than I do. So I think that sometimes the old list, they just want to keep up with you and what you're doing, and they like you. And I've certainly sold some books to them, but I do think the reader list, it's a different community. They don't really care that I'm taking my dog to the dentist. You know, they just want to know when the next book is and what the price is going to be. My old list, they want to know I'm taking my dog to the dentist. You know, so it's a slightly different community.
Yeah, I recently started. I changed my whole approach to my marketing as far as my list, you know, and I started doing more like telling them I'm taking the dog to the dentist kind of stuff. And what I noticed was that my open rates have increased, my click-through has increased, engagement has increased, even sales, everything has increased since then. So I think you're onto something with the dog dentist stuff.
You know what? I'm going to write a blog post about it now. You just convinced me. That's
you want to write one for Draft to Digital?
On my dog to the dentist? Yeah. I'd love to. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is an open invitation live on air. So I'm committed. I'm committed now, but I would love to see that. I think our authors would love to see that. So
okay.
Just throwing that out there. That's neither here nor there. I'm propositioning people on air. What's that?
I said I'd be happy to do it. It sounds like a real challenge. Yeah. How to work dog to dentist around with writing. I mean, that's a good brain tweaker. I like it.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Yeah. Megan, what about your community? Like how did you start and how did you build your group?
So for me, when I released my first book, I, of course, had basically zero audience. So what I did was I released a short story along with it. And I did put it up on Amazon. It is still available on Amazon for 99 cents. But if you went to my website, you could get it for free. And that's how I got people onto my newsletter.
Right.
But my advice is always start where you already are. So if you are a big Twitter user, and I'm not, but if you're a big Twitter user, start there. Start talking about your writing. Start talking about your projects. Start talking about your habits. When do you write? Why do you write? What's going on? And you'll start to attract those followers. And then as you get good at one social media site or one avenue, start expanding into others. So you got your Twitter followers or whatever. Now say, hey, I just opened up my website. Come check it out. And oh, by the way, sign up for my newsletter, right? So you start to bring those people to you rather than just to Twitter or to Facebook or whatever it is.
Right.
So start with what you already like, and then slowly add on new things, try them out one by one. I mean, I've played around with Pinterest. I had like image boards for my books, and I've kind of fallen off. I never really had a great audience there. I've tried Instagram. Facebook is where I have the largest presence.
Right.
And that seems to be working fairly well for me. And I play around with Twitter some, but yeah, just follow your own interests and your own, where you already are, like I said, and then also think about your audience too. So if you write YA, that might be a little bit different. If you're 50 years old and you write YA and you don't know what Snapchat is, you might want to go find out what Snapchat is.
Right. There is a certain amount of know your audience involved in that. My wife, so I'm big on Facebook. Twitter I like, and I used to be much bigger on Twitter than I am now, but I'm starting to kind of dip back into Twitter actually. But my wife is all about Pinterest. And she's all about, those things. And she has tried for years now to get me to start posting stuff. She'll read an article that says so-and-so author has 1 million followers on Pinterest and sells 1 million books a month or something. And so now I have to be on Pinterest. I just cannot. I'm a pretty tech savvy guy, but for some reason Pinterest eludes me. Like I just can't get into it.
It's so confusing to me. My publisher, we use Pinterest just for covers. So I'm always supposed to put up, inspirational pictures on Pinterest so that the art director can go and check them out and see what I'm thinking about for the next book cover.
Right.
And it's such a project because I can't figure out how to get it in the right board. And then I'm a complete idiot on Pinterest.
Yeah.
One more thing though about platform building I wanted to bring up, kind of a dirty subject with a lot of authors. So I'm going to go
I like dirty subjects.
Controversial on you guys, but in-person events, I think if you are not completely shy and introverted and terrified, in-person events are a good way to pick up followers too. And it's a different kind of follower because they feel committed. They feel kind of like they know you. And I actually just recently, and I won't bring up a name because he was amazing, but this author was obviously terrified of public speaking, and he admitted it, but he was still so amazing. And just even that little admitting he was terrified, we were all on his side. And I think the guy sold a ton of books, and I know I'm signing up for his website, and I want to support him. So I think even if you're frightened, getting up in front of people, that is just a wonderful way to build your audience. And I know it's scary, but hardly anybody gets sent on a book tour anymore. Unless you're huge, you don't even if you're traditionally published, you don't get sent on a book tour. But there's a lot of things you can do yourself. Get yourself out of the bookstore and into other places. Last year we did some events at wineries. And we were doing a couple this year too. In May, we're going to be doing one celebration of women authors. And I'm a wino, and I sing at these wineries, and my swag is a wine glass. I should have one with me so I could show it to you, but it says A Margin of Lust on the wine glass. That's the name of my first book. Okay. So just even that has been a fun way to meet people who might not have thought about picking up my book, but then it's like, oh, she writes here in Orange County. She writes about wine. I love wine.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice way to, it's a little slower than doing some big promotion, online promotion or something like that.
Right.
But I think the people you do pick up they feel committed to you in a different way.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's more personable, right? Which is something I'm very much, that's my buzzword right now, is personable. Like everything I do is geared toward having that very personal feeling relationship with the reader, because they do respond to that. And of course, I'm a ham. Everywhere I go ends up being an event, because, and my wife rolls her eyes, but you know, if we go to get the car serviced and we're sitting in the waiting room with 100 people waiting on our cars, you know, give me 10 minutes and that's basically it's as good as a book signing. I mean, because I waste no opportunity to mention to people that, you know, by the way, I'm an author. I write books. I write thrillers. No opportunity wasted.
I need to hang around with you. I'm not quite as good at that as you are. I would like to follow you around for a couple of days and pick up your techniques.
Well, carry cards with you, because I never remember to do that. Bookmarks. Right. It's just cumbersome to carry that stuff.
Yeah. Well, easier if you have a purse, but no, I actually handed out bookmarks at my martial arts class the other day.
Oh, excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, no, that's I think there are these little pockets of opportunity that we need to somehow be prepared for. It is the business card or the bookmark. You know, that's something that's very handy. If you happen to have a stack of those with you, that's very handy. It's just, you know, but that's one of the reasons, you know, I try to keep a couple of URLs memorized that I can just rattle off to people. That doesn't always help though, unless they've got, I swear to you, there's got to be a solution, you know, something I can just send you from my phone while we're sitting there. It's got to be something.
If you invent that, I'll invest. And we can start a business, because I think that would be a really great way to do it, to just, you know, somebody's interested, just have something you could send them right then and there on their phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because everybody's got a phone. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you guys, and we're getting close, and I want to wrap things up, but I wanted to talk a little bit about both of your fiction careers as well. Now, the two of you don't write in the same genre, I don't believe, right?
No.
Not.
I'm seeing, no one else can see this, but I'm seeing heads shake. So I'll let you guys thumb wrestle on who wants to go first, but I'd love to hear about what you guys write regularly.
Why don't you go first, Megan? Because I just did a bunch of talking.
All right.
Trying to take turns and play nice.
So I write the Sanyare Chronicles, which was probably not the best title choice, but one of my early mistakes, but I loved the word. So anyway, Sanyare, it's Sanyare Chronicles. And it's basically, it's kick-ass female heroine fantasy adventure. And so we start book one with Rie, who is a human who has been raised by elves in the High Court of Fairy. And she's treated as a kind of a servant or almost a slave. But then she's framed for treason. And so she has to go on this adventure, this quest to find out, you know, her true heritage and why she was targeted. So it's an adventure story, it's a quest kind of coming of age story to start out with. And there are 3 books in the series so far. I'm working on the 4th right now. And then I also have a series of short stories that are going to slowly be coming out over the next couple years, featuring the early adventures of her mentor, Lord Garamain. And so that actually starts, I'm in an anthology that's set to release here in a couple weeks, and it's the Ragged Heroes Anthology. And then if you sign up for my newsletter, after the anthology comes out, you get the 2nd short story for free. So that's my site.
Yeah. Excellent. That's I'm looking at your site right now. That's why I went all vacant on you. Side question: is your site built on Squarespace?
It is.
Okay, I could tell by mine is too, and I could tell by the little splash page open thing that you had. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Squarespace. So
I am too. I really like it. It's really easy. I do sometimes struggle with the imagery, especially like on that opening page, because if you view it on, mobile versus, your desktop or whatever, it shifts sometimes funny.
Yeah.
And which actually always, my husband's a software engineer and has designed some websites and stuff, and it always drives him nuts. But but I do love it because it's so easy, and I can do it myself, and I think it looks pretty good. So.
No, it looks good, and you got some great covers.
Thank
All
you.
right. So, all right, Greta, what do you said something about Queen of Suspense? So I was taking a guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you describe. And I see your book back there, the Scent of Wrath. I can see it in the background there. Well, that's smart. That's product placement.
I didn't do that on purpose. And here's the margin of loss. First book in the series.
Okay.
So,
now you didn't do that on purpose, but I in fact did do that. If you right there, you can see that's my book. That's one of my books. So I totally did that on purpose. I'm not gonna lie.
From now on, I will do that on purpose. Yes, I will. Thank you.
All right.
And so the series I'm working on now that I have the contract for is domestic suspense. So along the lines of a Girl on the Train, or a Ruth Ware kind of books. And I'm writing the 7 Deadly Sins. So the first book is The Margin of Lust, and that is about and all of them take place in Orange County. I like to say that my work is kind of like a Real Housewife of Orange County meets Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
Also kind of like my life. So the first book is A Margin of Lust, and it takes place mostly in Laguna Beach, and it revolves around real estate. The second book is called The Scent of Wrath, the one you see behind me. That one moves inland a little bit, and it's about a single mother who is being left very strange messages, and she thinks stalked, and she's trying to protect the life of her son. And so it's sort of a mother-child suspense. And then the one that I'm doing edits on and turning in now, which will be out in August, is The Sanctity of Sloth. Coming up with these names, I got to do one book per sin. And that one takes place mostly in the San Juan Capistrano mission, and it's a little bit more of an unusual premise. I'm very excited about it. And if you've ever been to any of the California missions, they're just so atmospheric. And so that one a lot of it is set there. So, yeah. That's, and of course, like every author, I got a bajillion ideas for other mystery series and things I want to write. So
yeah.
Just got to write faster. I was listening to your podcast about writing on your phone, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, but I just don't know if I could do that. But,
and I've had I have to tell you, I've interviewed some huge names on this show. I've interviewed people on a huge variety of topics. That one episode is the most popular episode of this show's entire run. I've had so many people reach out to me about writing on their phone. And I have people, tell me that they use the phone, but they use a Bluetooth keyboard, and that's fine too. So something to consider. It's good to have it with you, because then you can edit, you can add a sentence or two, whatever.
Yeah.
So I use it kind of as a supplement now. I wrote most of my last book, this book, on my phone using the on-screen keyboard as a way to kind of test it out. So
amazing.
I've been
and by the way,
editing on my Scrivener app, but on my phone. And now I use Scrivener on my iPad. That's actually my primary work device.
Yeah, that's me too.
But on my phone, I sit in Taekwondo, and I can do a little editing, but I haven't been able. I can't get into the right headspace for some reason.
Yeah. That's fine. You gotta do what works, right? You gotta use the tools and the process that will get the book done.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Greta, kudos on choosing something somewhat finite to base your books around, the whole 7 sins thing. Not like Sue Grafton's alphabet books, which may she rest in peace, but we'll never see Z.
I know. I find that so tragic. And that her family won't, because I thought she had some outlines going for Z, but They won't allow any ghostwriter to come in and help. But
I
yeah,
just think that's wrong.
I know. I agree. In my Seven Deadly Sins series, each book has its own protagonist that's introduced in the book before.
Okay.
Because I never felt like I had a character yet that was interesting enough to carry a series. But I think I do, and I think I'm about to start one. But I am thinking about that, like give myself some kind of a finite number,
Yeah.
because you're right, it can just drag on and you can get really bored with it. And I don't know how Lee Childs can keep doing it, you know?
He's got a lot of rage. He's fueled by whiskey and cigars and
It's
Red
gotta
Bull.
be. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, okay. Well, we're at time. We're going to wrap up. I appreciate both of you taking the time to chat with me. Where can people find you guys online?
I'm at, oh, we're both talking. I'm at gretaboris.com, which is my name. And that's pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm at meganhaskell.com, so same. And then together for Aspiring to Author, we are at aspiringtoauthor.com. And then
Excellent.
there's also ocwriters.network, which, yes, I wish we had the .com, but we don't. So network.
Okay. All right. .network. Actually, .network.
.network. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. I didn't even know that was a domain name.
Well, you have to be super intelligent to join OC Writers, and that was
right.
a correct question. You know, if you can't remember ocwriters.network, well, then maybe you just don't have the smarts.
Maybe you're not in. Yeah, I'm totally. Yeah. Who knows if I'll make it now? Who knows?
You will.
Well, we're a network of published and aspiring authors.
There you go.
So,
There you go.
there you go.
You brought it back around. All right. Okay. Well, of course, everybody listening and watching, go check out those domains. You'll find all those in the show notes. Don't worry if you didn't have a chance to write it all down. Right this second, you're probably hearing the groovy bridge music. You may dance in place at will. And thank you to my two guests for taking the time to chat with me and be on the show. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us. This was great. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Hear your book the way it was meant to be heard. With a fully custom soundtrack based on your material. An album of music that perfectly fits your characters, your settings. Hear your book today. SonataInscribe.com.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Megan Haskell and Greta Boris. Once again, the title of that book is Publish, Take Charge of Your Author Career. Can't recommend that concept more highly. Taking charge of your author career. You know, we talked about before the interview the idea of taking a break every now and then, and embarking on other creative endeavors in order to recharge your batteries. And I think that is, that's astoundingly important. I think that when we become authors, particularly the flavor of author that we are. Because if you're listening to this show, I'm going to make up a number entirely, as my father would say. I'm going to say there's a 99% chance that we are the same type of author. Not that we write the same genre, not that we, not that we have similarities across the board, but that the way in which we've pursued an author and publishing career is very similar. I'm going to one day write the definitive guide to author types. Maybe it'll be a blog post. But there is the traditional author. There is now the hybrid author, which I think everyone is going to move toward the hybrid author model. There in the self-publishing world, though, there seem to be some silos that have emerged. And they're interesting because and I need to come up with clever names for all of them, but there's the type of author that believes that, or that only wants to sell print books, that thinks that being an author is only about selling print books. And he or she, generally goes with like a vanity press or something similar, pays thousands of dollars for print copies, and then drives to conferences and events and bookstores and sells copies out of his or her car or suitcase or something like that. There is the slightly more savvy, I think, indie author or self-published author who is maybe doing that, but probably is using a print-on-demand service instead. Does probably have ebooks, but thinks of ebooks as a secondary market. Still buys copies of the books and travels with them, but is a little more savvy about the marketing. There's that group. They tend to be a little more adaptive. And then there is what I call now, I'm starting to refer to as the indie author. I mean, you hear me say indie author a lot, but I'm starting to refer to this group specifically as the indie author group. And they are the folks like us. Now, I think there may be some subgroups in here, but the folks who probably primarily rely on ebooks for their income, who are definitely marketing savvy, who've adapted the internet marketing techniques in order to boost their careers, who are out there actively learning, participating in podcasts, joining Facebook groups like 20 Books to 50K, Michael Anderley's group. That group of authors I refer to as indie authors, independent authors. You're not just self-publishing, you're owning your author career. That's what I think Megan and Greta have tapped into with this book in their program. So definitely check that out. If you're interested, you can find links to the book, to their website, everything in the show notes of this episode at wordslingerpodcast.com. This is episode 150. Ew, don't give me a line. We'll call it 159. Man, I really need to start writing those down, and I have it written, and I can't find it. What? How lame is that? Anyway, go find that episode, and we'll have all the links you need in the show notes of that episode. So this week, right now, I'm at NINC. Probably doing my presentation right around the time this goes live, actually. Let's see, it's 11 a.m. Eastern time, so that would be 10 a.m. Central. Did I get that right? Yeah. So we're an hour ahead there. So 10 a.m. Central. So the show should go live probably around 7 a.m. Central time. So you're probably fine. But if you're listening to it on the day it releases, there's a real good chance you're listening to it while I'm doing my presentation there. Come around. If you're in the Florida area, if you're near Tampa, close enough to swing through, we are going to have Saturday night in the Shark Tooth Tavern. Drafted Digital is going to be buying you drinks and plying you with booze and trying to get you up on the stage with a microphone in your hand. I will be singing. I sing every time someone mentions karaoke, I automatically start singing. So it's a given. So swing by, and we'll buy you some booze, and we'll see. We'll listen in and see what your chops are. I mentioned also, so I'll be in Seattle in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be there on my birthday, so it's just kind of the way it worked out. Kara is, she's a project manager with Office Depot's corporate division, and she'll be managing a project in that area in Redmond. So I'm going to fly up with her and just hang out with her for the week. So she'll be working. I'll probably be working. I just don't get away from work, really, honestly. But I'll be there, and we'll, maybe I need to shoot some video. I got my private channel on YouTube that's I promised everyone I was back, and then I did two videos and disappeared. It's all part of that overtaxing myself creatively, I guess. So I'll do some stuff there. If you're in the area, let me know. Maybe we can get together for a cup of coffee. I hear Seattle's got coffee. We'll grab a cup of Joe. After that, in November, so we'll be at 20 Books to 50K, and I don't know the exact dates, but we will be at 20 Books to 50K in Vegas, and then Kara and I will actually be traveling to Salt Lake City. We're probably going to road trip that one. We were going to take the RV, but I've got some news on the RV. The RV is right now in Florida, at West Beach, Florida. We have transferred it from Outdoorsy to a company called Luxury RV Rental. Only because you may have heard the episode with Colin from Outdoorsy, and we really liked Outdoorsy. I really liked working with them. The only downside for me was I needed someone to actually manage the RV on my behalf because I'm just not around enough. I travel pretty frequently, and I don't have the resources to be able to do the walkthroughs and get people up to speed, sign all the paperwork, and do all that stuff, and hand the keys over for the RV. So we were missing out on thousands of dollars of rentals, and so we decided we needed to find a company to manage it. So that company is now managing the RV rental. We decided on Florida rather than some of their other locations because we figure people will fly into Florida for Disney World. The odds go up. This RV will rent for a lot less than most of the other RVs in their fleet. So this is a real inexpensive alternative for people. We like that. It means less money for us, but it also means more, we think, more rentals. So over time, it'll be a better deal. But, one of the big advantages of this also is that now I no longer have to pay for RV storage. There's some insurance and other considerations that they're going to be taking care of for me. More coffee. Hold on. But we think that's going to be a good move. So if you are interested in the whole RV thing, man, I'm tied into this. I've been talking to Joe and Kate Russo, who are in China right now, which is fascinating. I can't wait to start seeing some of the videos they produced there. I know they were kind of taking a little hiatus from production for a bit too. So see, it's going around. I'm telling you, everybody needs a break every now and then. All right. After November, I think we're pretty clear. I'll have the holidays. I'm probably going to put the show on hiatus for the holidays because it just gets too, I do this every year, honestly. So this is nothing new, but it just gets a little difficult to produce the show over the Christmas break, Christmas and New Year's. Even around Thanksgiving, basically. From around Thanksgiving to after New Year's, it can be a little tough. But we'll see what we can do. We'll see how we can make things work. I after taking the break that I did, maybe it's a little unfair to not pop back up, so we'll see. But then in February is the next conference, I believe. I'll be going to Smarter Artist Summit, the final Smarter Artist Summit, the last of its kind. The last of its breed. So if you're able to make any of these, I would love to see you. Come look me up. Ask me questions about Draft to Digital, about Wordslinger podcast, about my own work, whatever, or just let's chat. And I can buy you booze and stuff at most of these things. So it's on me. It's on Draft to Digital, actually. If I'm traveling on behalf of Draft to Digital and we happen to be in a bar, I will buy the drinks. There you go. So pop on by. That's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Let me know what's going on in your world. There anything I should know about in the indie publishing world? There's some really interesting stuff happening right now. Amazon is shutting down or has shut down CreateSpace and migrating everything over to KDP Print. So that's big news. I may not be doing the news segment anymore, but I don't. That doesn't stop me from knowing things. So you got stuff like that going on. There's a whole lot of things, man. There's a lot of swirling stuff happening in the indie publishing world, and maybe we'll dip into that. Upcoming, I've got some interviews in the can that are going to make for great shows for you. I'm talking to soon, and I'm going to time this to release pretty close to November. So look for this in October, maybe in the next couple of weeks. But I talked to Grant Faulkner, who's with NaNoWriMo. We were talking about what his role there and the program itself. Everything you ever wanted to know about NaNoWriMo. I got a chat with Matthew Thrush, my good friend. He's a 6-figure ghostwriter. He's going to tell you all about how to get into that line of work if that's something you're interested in. I'm bringing back Christian Brown. You may remember him from a previous episode. He's a fantasy writer. He's got some cool stuff. I interviewed Jack Carr, who is kind of new to the scene, but he's a big hit in the thriller world. Kind of a we'll say he was mentored by Brad Thor. he's come in. He's doing fantastic, and I can't wait to get that interview out in front of you. I talked to Michael Anderle again. I got Nick Thacker. We're talking about his Sonata and Scribe. So you're going to want to hear about that. You hear commercials for that in the episodes now. Sonata and Scribe is a cool service where he'll create a soundtrack for your books. So. More people than I can name off, honestly. So got to get cracking. We're going to get some episodes recorded and get them out to you. So hope you're excited. Again, if you've got, if you want to pop in and tell me anything, tell me what you're getting out of the show. Tell me if you appreciate it or not. I understand. Just pop into wordslingerpodcast.com or tag me on Twitter or Facebook if you want. Look me up. If you look up Kevin Tomlinson, you're going to find me no matter what platform you're on. I'm pretty much on all of them. So hope you enjoyed this episode and this interview with Megan and Greta. And please go out, pick up their book. They got a great program there. I hope you enjoyed that. Taking charge of your author career is a must. So make sure you're doing everything you can to do that. And God bless each and every one of you. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you all next time. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Wordslinger podcast. Now, you can support this show by visiting wordslingerpodcast.com. That's where you're going to find back episodes, books by me, and links to anything and everything Wordslinger. And be sure to subscribe to this show on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and anywhere else fine podcasts are sold. I'm Kevin Tomlinson. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Wordslinger.